Hey everybody, welcome back to Idiot Proof Cooking. So I've decided to be bold today and make some carbonara and risk pissing off a bunch of Italians. Seriously, whenever I do make pasta, it seems to get a few dislikes and some angry comments. But that being said, I'm still going to make some carbonara because it is a super easy pasta dish. It is crazy delicious. And honestly, if you've never made it before, you should learn how to make it because before I ever made it, I thought it was way harder than it was. And it turns out it's super easy. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so let's make some carbonara, shall we? Now, the first thing that we're going to tackle is the sauce for the carbonara, which is a really rich and creamy sauce, but believe it or not, doesn't have any cream in it. It's entirely eggs and cheese that you're going to be making your carbonara sauce out of. So I'm going to use 6 eggs to make mine. Specifically, I'm going to crack in 4 large eggs into a mixing bowl, and then once they're in, I'm going to add 2 additional egg yolks for some added richness. So just separate the yolks from the whites, and then pour them in alongside the other eggs, and then just give these all a quick mix together to make sure that the eggs are nice and combined. Once that's done, we're going to add the cheese in, starting off with 1.5 cups of freshly grated Parmesan, then an additional cup of freshly grated Pecorino Romano. Last but not least, all that's left to do is add in a fairly liberal amount of freshly ground black pepper and then mix it all together. Now, I'm holding off adding any salt at this point in time because I'm going to be using pancetta in my carbonara and it's fairly salty on its own, so I really don't think you need to use additional salt. You can if you want, but I don't really think you need to. But now that the carbonara sauce has been mixed, let's head into the kitchen and continue cooking this. And in the kitchen, I have my large cast iron pan heating up and a fairly large pot of water boiling so that we can cook our spaghetti noodles in it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is get a little bit of olive oil and just add like a tablespoon or 2 into your cast iron pan or whatever pan you're using, and then you're going to add in your meat. Now, I have about 2 cups of diced pancetta here. Now, traditionally carbonara uses guanciale, but I'll be honest, it's pretty hard to find. So if you can find it like I couldn't, substitute it out for pancetta. And hey, in a pinch, bacon would even work. Either one of those would be fine, but I'm using pancetta for mine. And like I said, about 2 cups. So I'm going to start frying it up, and while the pancetta is cooking, I'm going to liberally season my boiling pasta water with some kosher salt just to enhance the flavor of the spaghetti noodles. And speaking of spaghetti noodles, it's time to drop them in. So I'm using a whole box, about a pound's worth of spaghetti noodles, and I'm just going to pour them into the boiling water and cook them as per the manufacturer's recommendations, which in my case is about 11 minutes. Now back to the pancetta. As you can see here, it's frying up quite nicely. Like, it looks really good and it smells good. I'm just going to fry it for a couple of more minutes until it gets a little bit more crispy, and then I'm going to kill the heat and scoop out the pancetta with a slotted spoon, set it aside for a moment, and then we're going to take out some of this oil from the frying pan. We do want a little bit left over, about 3 to 4 tablespoons, but as it is, there's too much in there, so just scoop a little bit of it out until there's about 3 to 4 tablespoons left in your frying pan. And then let's head back to the pasta for a moment. I'm just dipping my measuring cup in and reserving 1 cup of the boiling pasta water so that we can temper our eggs in the carbonara sauce. Now my pasta is cooked, so I'm just going to drain it out, and then we're going to dump our spaghetti noodles into the frying pan alongside the oil. Make sure to get them all out. As you can see, a couple stuck there, and from there we're going to get some tongs and start mixing the pasta in with the leftover pancetta grease and a little bit of that olive oil. You want to make sure that it's nice and coated. Now we're going to set this aside for 1 moment. Then I'm just going to quickly lay down a tea towel and bring over the carbonara sauce, and it's time to start tempering it. So with the pasta water we had reserved, I'm just going to slowly pour in between 1/4 and 1/2 cup of it, constantly mixing it, and that's going to temper the eggs in the carbonara sauce. And there you go, it's done. So let's pour it in with our spaghetti noodles and finish this off. Once it's all poured in, just go get yourself your tongs and mix it all together, all the spaghetti noodles with all of your carbonara sauce, and just look at how creamy and delicious that looks. Man, it is super easy to make this. Like, it took no time at all, and look at how just delicious and creamy it is, and it smells spectacular. And really the last step is go throw your pancetta back in. So go get that, toss it in, and just mix it all together, and you have yourself some carbonara. Look at how beautiful that is. And that's carbonara in a nutshell. Really not that difficult, right? Now, I know it's not traditional because I didn't use guanciale, but I think it's still going to taste really good with the pancetta. And speaking of tasting good, let's go and taste test it. So I'm just going to dole myself out here a fairly good helping of it. Make sure to get some of the pancetta in there. I want to make sure it's nice and meaty after all. And then I'm just going to add some additional freshly grated Parmesan. I would say a fairly liberal helping of it. And after that, I'm going to add some additional freshly ground black pepper. A good helping of that as well. But really, it's time to dig in and try this. So here we go. I'm excited to try this. And let me tell you, yeah, with the first bite, this is so delicious. Creamy and rich, and the pancetta is absolutely delicious. And speaking of pancetta, I was right. It adds its own saltiness to the dish. You really don't need to add any additional salt when making this. The pancetta is going to do that for you. And you know what? Here's Rose. As always, she wants to try a bit of it, and she absolutely loves pasta. So here we go, Rose, your taste test, and hopefully she likes it, and it somehow ended up in her hair. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, she loved it too. But anyways, that's the end of the episode. I hope you liked what you saw here today. If you did, why don't you drop me a comment, like the video, or even subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching Idiot Proof Cooking. We'll see you again soon.